Hi everyone, my name is Annette and today I'm going to do a video for you all on doing some hair painted on this beautiful little baby here, Drew Ann. So I'm going to be using the Magical Realism Hair Dry Paints. Yes, that's right, I said it right, hair dry paints. So they're air dry paints but used for painting hair on your reborn babies. So little Drew Ann here was painted in one of my online Zoom classes. If you want to know more about my online Zoom classes, you can have a look on our website, aussierebornsupplies.com.au, and go right down to the bottom of the menu and it says online Zoom classes. We do heat set classes and we do air dry classes, which is pretty exciting. At the moment, they run at a certain time, so we're doing them every Monday night here in Australia at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But you know, if you're really interested in classes, you can sing out to me and maybe I can alter some future classes to work around your timeline somehow. So beautiful little Drew Ann, like I said, was painted in one of our online classes. She was painted using the air dry paints. So we are going to be working on her today. As you can see, she is bald and she is in need of some hair. So let's get started. I'll just take her head off first, shall I? Now, as I always say, you don't need to see me the whole video. So most of the video I'm going to be working on the table. You'll be looking down at what I'm doing. I have Drew Ann's head off now, so she is ready to add that hair on it. Now, as I mentioned before, I'll be using the Magical Realism Hair Dry Paints. Not everyone has these, of course, so you can either purchase them at Aussie Reborn Supplies. Our postage is pretty reasonable. So if you get on and you try to buy a set, you can buy just like a blonde set or a brunette set like that, or you can buy the full set, which even has fantasy colors in it. But take a look at them, and the postage, like I said, is really reasonable. There is occasions where the postage goes nuts, and if that's the case, I ask you to get in contact with me, because postage is never crazy for those type of things. We're talking about, you know, probably a tops at about $25, maybe US, let's say, around that price. So yeah, just get in contact with me if the price is looking a bit crazy, and I'll work with you to get you the better price. This one I'm starting with is a platinum blonde. You'll notice as I go, we change colors. I do about 3 or 4 different colors, but I always start with something light and then work up from there, depending on what sort of color I'm trying to achieve in the end. If you don't have these paints and you really can't afford to buy the paints themselves, then there's a few different suggestions I can do. This one I'm starting with is a platinum blonde, like I said, so it's a light color. You can choose to try to create something similar. I would suggest you can either use white. You could even probably use a flesh color, because it's kind of looking blondie, or you could use a brown as well. And the best way to do that and to make it work is just sort of by watering it, or odorless solvent, depending whether you're working with heat set or air dry paint. So get the paint you want to work with and water it down, and that can be a little bit challenging. So if you've got like a test lim around, get that test lim out and practice on it like it's hair. So these ones we can use directly from the bottle. That's why they're so good. I can just like put a few drops in and I can start using it straight away. They're really versatile like that. Just also saying, as we're going to, you can also water these ones down as well if you're wanting a finer or a lighter tone of the color we've got here. So generally, if I was saying working with heat set and I wanted to do brown, I just get like a little fine brush like this, nothing major, and I just get a little bit of brown out of the jar and I put it into my palette in one of these little palette holes. And then in the next palette, I'd put a few drops of odorless solvent. and then in another one I would sort of mix the two but slowly. So maybe even just putting one drop into a palette and then getting your brown and mixing it in little bit by little bit, and you know, work with that. Practice on your test limb with a fine liner like this, and that can get the same sort of effect. The benefit of having the hair dry paints, you've got all your colors already. So we've got different types of, I mean, this one's granite gray. We've got, there's medium brown. So, and then there's an ebony black, warm white. There's a strawberry blonde. So the benefit with that is the colors are already sort of mixed for you. You don't have to think too much about it. When the other way, you sort of have to maybe think about it every time, sort of, so to speak. And like I said, with this one, if you were to use this platinum blonde and the line that you liked, well, that you drew or painted, was a little bit too dark for you, then you just add like a couple of drops of water, 1 or 2 drops of water. That simple, and you keep going. And this one, it also dries. It's sealed, everything within the one color, so you don't have to think too much. That's what the benefit of the hair dry paints are. So it also comes with some great instructions telling you pretty much what I'm going to do throughout this tutorial. Okay, so I've been talking for way too long. You're probably saying, okay, let's get to the paint. Right, so I'm going to stop this and turn the video around so you can see. Okay, right. So baby Drouan's here, and we've got a couple of fine brushes here. This brush here I sell in a set of 3 at Aussie Reborn Supplies. It's pretty much one of my go-to brushes. They come in like a blue, green, and the red in the set. I think the red is shorter, then they got the blue, and then I think the green is the longest. I use them often in hair painting, and if you do buy the full hair dry paint kit, you will get a set of three of these in there. So I've just got that one, but at the moment I've got a little bit of a favorite brush that I've been using a lot lately. This one is just a Princeton 18/07. You know, I don't know if you can get much out of that, but it's a short liner. The short liners are pretty good to use as well. The best thing about the other liner is it's so long that it's really flowy. Once it gets connected with the paint, it's nice and flowy and it gives a really good effect. But I'll start with my short liner and see how I go. I've also just got a syringe here for pulling up some water if I need to add it to my colour. So I'll show you the mix of paint first. I've just got a little sponge or pillow under there. I normally work with a painting pad underneath me, but I wanted little Drouan to have a nice pillow, so that's why she is on the pillow. Okay, so we just open it up, just a couple of drops in. You'll just sort of give it a couple of shakes like that. That's it. I'm in a cool day in Australia here, so I don't have to worry about much in the fact of heat. But if it is really hot, try to be in a cool room or something, and you'll understand that it is an air dry paint, so it will dry up, and that's why it is good to have, you know, just some water close by that you can sort of add in. I will get my little syringe and fill it up now anyway. Ugh. And I'll just put it in the middle for just in case I need it, and put my water aside. Okay, now bringing baby back. So I always start at the back of the head. It's just what I do best. I'm talking a bit of crap today, so just mind me, okay? I will put a little bit of water into one of the separate palettes. It is good to have, if you do make a little mistake, I can just tap on the water and sort of wipe it off. It's pretty forgiving like that. Or you can use like a sponge or something like that. I'll have a little bit of sponge here I'll put there just in case as well. Okay, so just get your baby situated nice and comfortably on a little pillow. The pillow, it's one of those little pillows that has the round in the middle. to put the face down if you're doing implanting and that. I've got the cover on it mainly because I've been using it for implanting, so therefore it's got a little bit of hair on it, and I don't want that hair to get on Drew-Ann at the moment. So just dip your brush in the paint, simple as that. And we're just going to do a nice little fine line with a curve. Now let me just see how well you can see that on there. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to bring this in just a little bit closer. I've got to give myself room to work, but I also want you to see what I'm doing. Okay, so we could do just plain straight lines. You can imagine. Yes, you can do straight lines, but it is good to do various lines. By the way, the paint will go quite a distance too. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do line after line beside each other. They can have a slight curve. They can be straight. But basically, that little last one wasn't nice. Basically, we want to get them nice and fine and side by side. I'm saying about 3 millimeters apart. I think my brush just needs a little bit of water, a little bit of hydration. We don't want to get the lines being thick, okay? We want to keep them nice and thin. This being one of the first layers is good as well. You don't have to, don't be too scared. I'm getting a bit thick there. Don't be too scared of what's going to... I'm not using my words great today, guys, so I'm really sorry. But because it's the bottom layer that we're doing, we can make a few little mistakes. It's not going to be too detrimental. But when we're starting, you know, you're getting your rhythm going and you want to keep it going. So anyway, I'm going to keep this going and see if I like this brush, because if it keeps giving me thick lines, I'm not going to play with it anymore and it's going to go away. It is sort of being a little bit nasty to me. But why? It's my favorite brush. One thing, one great bit of advice I can give you is a lot of people tend to, when they're painting, they tend to push down. And if you can imagine, when you push down, you're going to give yourself a thicker line. You literally have to be just using the tippy tip of your brush. Okay? So just using the tippy tip of your brush will give you a nice fine line. But sometimes we have a tendency of pushing harder. You want to not push harder. Now I'm going to give a little go on my other brush, just because it's normally my go-to brush and I've ignored it this time. Maybe it's what I need to stick with. So I just hydrated that. And now we'll just put it in the paint and see if it wants to come to the party. It is being a nice brush. Now you can see that I'm working on different shapes there and angles. I can do straight ones. Yeah, this is the brush to use actually, guys. Forget that short liner. Forget it. Get yourself a pack of 3 of these fine script liners. Okay, you can see that it's taken me a good distance with it as well. So this is the brush I'm going to suggest. Well, let's see how far I can go with that one swipe. Now you can see how fine those lines are, right? Turn my brush a little bit because I've obviously used the paint on that side. And you see my lines are getting lighter and lighter. Okay, that's about how far we've gotten. So you can see that nicely. These ones we first use are a little bit thicker. Then we're getting nice fine lines with this script liner. Remember, it's a pack of 3 on my website. Okay, so now what we're going to do, now that we've become established with what brush we're using and the size lines we're going to use, we're going to just move ahead I'm going to go across to there, and then I'm sort of going to come back. I'll probably come back and forwards quite a bit, but I'm going to speed it up so you can see what I'm doing. The key is that just getting those lines nice and fine, and probably, like I said, about 3 millimeters apart from each other. Doing some curved lines, doing some straight lines. As we go up the head, which you'll see as we go further, you can do longer lines like this. And then we just sort of bring them into the ones below. We don't sort of bring them and attach them, but we sort of bring them in between a little bit. Hopefully you can see that, just the one I've just done there. I've brought that long hair up from the top, and I've brought it down. It doesn't have to go in between the hairs, but we don't want to attach them to the hairs. Attaching them to the hairs would mean that baby has like a 2-inch or 1-inch long hair at the back of their head, where they're not going to have that, are they? So we need to sort of bring them in so they're sort of like a piece of brickwork. If you can imagine a piece of brickwork, you've got a brick and a brick, and then you'll have a brick up here. I hope I'm explaining things to you okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is hyperlapse this, make we go through it faster, and you'll kind of get the idea of where I'm going to. This could be a little while because I'm going to pretty much do the whole head. I'll stop if I think I need to tell you something, but basically this is all about watching where I'm going and adding on to it. I just thought I would stop for a minute and tell you, around when you get to the ear area, you need to sort of separate the hair like I'm doing here, going from side to side, just like that, like a tent type of look. Triangle tent, side to side. Watch the ears as you're going, because you will probably get a little bit of paint on there, so just be careful of that, mindful of that. You can just wipe it off. But this is the kind of look you're going for, and as we move forward, it will create, you'll see how it will create. At this stage too, I generally start working around my side area here. So you can start, I often start from the brow and work out. So if you can see how the brow is shaped like this, this is the same sort of thing I'm going to do here. I just need to be mindful. I don't want my paint to be too strong. So just doing a nice fine lines like this. Hopefully I've got it in the right angle for you. Just working your way out. What you're trying to imagine, if you've got little fine hairs, that's why I'm being so gentle and it's not coming on very great. A little bit of water will help with that if it's not flowing really nice. So from the brow, that's a little bit strong, so I will tone that down. From the brow, working out a couple little hairs that are bright can be okay. And you're working your way towards this area here. These ones are going to be fairly fine, so we don't need to get these ones all millimeters apart. And then you're going to go down beside your ear, the same sort of triangle effect, coming in from one side, in from the other, like you're coming into a center point. Can add a few hairs up here as you go. Try to make them as fine as possible, but a couple that are vibrant are okay as well, but not too vibrant. So as we're going down beside this ear area, we are getting down to the closer hairs, meaning about 3 millimeters apart, 2-3 millimeters apart. And we can bring it down like some sideburns, but we don't want to go Elvis on us. Okay, don't go too crazy about it. You can pretty much see how I've gone there. But I also like to do some fine little chinny chin type of hairs, not chin hairs, but just around here, doing some fine little lines. Now, mind you, when we add the other colours later, we might not add colour to this area. We might just keep these nice fine sort of whiskers on the side. It's just like a little bit of peach fuzz. Some babies have got that little bit of hair. Obviously, you don't have to do this. If you hate it, just don't do it. It's just kind of like a signature thing that I do, and I just always have loved the look of it, especially when you're working with this really light blonde colour. It's just going to give like a different sort of effect. Now, I'm hoping you can see that all there, just really fine. Sorry if you can hear my belly rumble, guys. But you can see that nice, fine look. Look at that. We're looking at that angle. It's really, really nice. And normally I would also do the brows at this stage too, but because I was working on a tutorial online and I was showing my clients how to do the brows, or the best way to do it at the time, I did it then. But normally I'd be working and doing the brows with this colour and then adding onto it with the other colours. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Hyperlink and we're going to keep working on the hair. I'll probably stop again when I get, well, when I'm talking about the crown and when I'm talking about the forehead, the front of the head. But for now, I'm going to fill in all those gaps. Okay, so we've done the sides. You've watched me do the sides. Now we're going to be working on the top. I'll just bring this back a little bit so I've got more space to show you. So you've got to think about the forehead, where you want your hair to begin. Normally it's a good point of reference, you know, just about an inch above the head, but the brow line, but it really depends on the head. I mean, you could have a really big baby and then you're going to be like 2 inches. So you've just got to sort of focus. You know, if you thought a fringe would start back here, it would kind of look a bit silly. It sort of starts about right here. So find a pinpoint for there and just sort of really make a marker. Nothing special. I normally just do a little line like that. And then I work from that. Now we're going to be focusing on the top of the head. Okay, so you'll work with me now on that. I'm going to do the top of the head, and then we have to work on these lines. As you can see, they're all going up, and that's stupid, right? What we need to do is make them so they are going up, but they're going to blend with these hairs on the top of the head. So just watch for that. When I'm doing that, just for leather, I'm doing it again. Why am I doing that again? As we get to that side, you know, it just means your hairs are going to slightly turn. So you're going to turn them so they start to blend into that way and this way over here. And so they're blending in. So that will give it that look like it's all blending together, not like it's just going up here and over there. Okay, so when I'm doing the top of the head too, I do like to do some nice, luscious, long, wavy sort of lines, this type of thing. And I bring them together. Like as in together, meaning the same sort of angle, working together. You'll see as I go further with that. It doesn't matter to do some longer lines. Oh gee, some of my nails are dirty. I apologize about if I have any dirty nails. I've just been working with paint and it gets under my nails sometimes. So you can do the longer lines, as I was saying, because as we go on with other colors blending on top, it'll just all look very natural and it'll work. Just believe me. So I'll show you what we're doing. We're also going to be working on the crown. I've kind of gone a little bit high up here for the crown. Normally I would have my crown pretty much right where my finger is there, and that's about the top of the line where I have been working before. So with the crown, I don't go too crazy about how it's going to come about at this stage. It'll sort of blend as we move forward, but I pinpoint where I want my crown to be, which is normally off to the side of the head and in a nice back position, not too high and not too low. Got to sort of do it like where it would be the crown. And then I do a somewhat type of star, like a sun star. Let me just do it for you so you can see. This type of thing. Now moving forward with this crown, I can keep it going just like a sun star, just like that. And I can have all the hair flowing in different directions just to that midpoint. I can do it like that, or I would suggest doing it like that to begin with. Honestly, I would just suggest adding your hairs around, and you know, like these ones will blend into there and blending in. So it all looks like everything's flowing, okay? If you try at this stage to go too much into like a circular motion round and round and round the posy, it gets a little bit confusing and a little bit much. So I'd say for a first time, definitely just do the star. It'll look great in the end. I promise it'll look great. And then as you get used to painting with painted hair, then try to work on doing a swirl kind of environment. And if you were doing something like that, I would be suggesting, you know, that you start from your crown before you do the rest of your hair, and then you sort of work out from the crown. So let's say I was doing this type of thing. You would then work it in and then blend all your other hair to match up into that. So for this stage, let's just do the star and work around that and move on. So you're just getting the basic knowledge of hair painting on this stage. Okay, enough from me again. I'm going to go back to Hyperlink. Okay, so the first thing, I'm finished, but the first thing I need to point out is my paint. Now you saw in the beginning, I only put like about 2 or 3 drops in there. Look at that. I'm not joking. That's all I've used. So I basically used like 1.5 to 2 drops in that whole time. Yes, amazing. There's not much waste. I mean, you would think that is a bit of a waste, but no, it's pretty good. It's pretty good going of how much we actually use. So let's look at Baby Drew Ann a bit closer. I'll just put this paint palette out of the way and hopefully I can give you a good run by run. You can see the hair there. I've got some flowing hairs. You've just got to make sure you blend them all and you bring them in together. As you can see, the angles that I've gone. Don't be afraid to go onto different angles. Like I said, this is the first layer, so we're going to be adding to it. So you're not making any huge mistakes. As long as you get all your lines really fine, you'll be absolutely going the right direction. Now see all the hairs up here, how I had them going up here, but I managed to sort of blend them in so they look like they're flowing. And as we go with further layers, I can make that even more visible. Well, visible in the fact that it looks like they're blending and going together. And you can see just that fine hairline around there. Haven't gone crazy. Hairs sort of flow in slightly different angles and directions, but pretty much in the direction you want it to go. Okay, so that is my first layer, and hopefully that you guys have got the sort of picture with it now. So now what I'm going to do is start on a darker color. I'll probably go with an ash blonde, but I'll do a little test and see if that's the color I want. And then I'll be starting totally again. Okay, so give me a moment to test that color. Okay, so I have decided to do the next tone in a light brown. So we started with the platinum blonde. Whoops. And now we're going to light brown. You won't actually see a lot of difference. It's kind of, it'll sort of blend in to it, but you will see the difference. Okay, just put a little bit more water in my secondary palette. And you'll notice towards the end of when I'm painting all the hair that I go into the water a little bit more. And that is just because my paint is lightly starting to dry up and I need to hydrate it. So it is always good to keep the water there and sort of add it as you're going. Or if you're getting a little bit dark in your lines, you know, just to have a little bit of moisture on your brush will help a lot. Okay, so with this layer, it's pretty simple. All we're doing is now going in between the lines we just did. So if I'll give you an example, see there's a big line here. We're just going a line in between that line. Okay, so that's all we are doing. Go over the whole entire kit, doing a line in between the lines you just did. So like kind of filling in the gap. Same angles, same flows, everything exactly the same. Okay, I'll hyperlink the whole lot. Okay guys, this time you may have noticed I added more colour to my palette. That was because this paint was a little bit more thinner than the last one, and so it wasn't as accepting going on. It went on, but it went on a little bit more finer, so that meant that I had to use more dips of my paintbrush. So I hope that you can see how we went. As I said, we went between the lines that we did earlier. Some of them I went over, but generally going between. You can see our crown at the top is forming. I've got some colour in those little peach fuzz bits there. And our fringe there. So, we're going to keep going. We're going to go with the darker colour next. Normally I would probably do a medium brown, but I'll test it and see if that's the colour I want to go with. I don't know how, you are seeing it here, but from my visual look, it's a very fine look. Let's have a look from a distance. When you look really up close, you can see that they're lines. But, I mean, that's really up close, and it doesn't look like thick lines or anything. They're really nice, and we've got some definition happening there within the hair. So don't be afraid of what it's going to look like from watching the video. It looks much different in person, and it looks a lot blended and more flowy. Okay, so let me play with the next color and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so this time I am using medium brown. So we've started with platinum, gone to light, and now we're going to medium. And this time we're going to do some just random hairs, like every, 4 or 5 hairs. Just sort of do a line, something like that, bit more random. So not so close together, just like that. Okay, some random hairs. So what should we do? This one should be a bit quicker than the last because we're not going through every second layer. In my booklet, if you are following that, in my layer 2, I've said go every 4 or 5 hairs. And layer 3, I've said go in between those 4 or 5 hairs. I'm doing it a bit back to front to this time, but you can do it either way. You can follow it exactly key to the book, or like what I'm doing here. It will make no big difference, just maybe a different sort of hair design type of thing. All right, so I'll put you on the hyperlapse again, and we'll see how we go this time. Okay, that layer was fun, wasn't it? Just those random lines, you see those darker lines there, just randomly put all over the place, still working within the line, still working within the angles, and just adding them into place. So it looks really, really good. It's coming together now. Very pretty. So cool. Okay, all right. So now, again, we go on to the next darkest color. And I'm going to work with mahogany brown this time, more than likely. So this layer is where you can get a little bit more adventurous. Hair strands can move into different directions. And my suggestion is also to look on Google and have a look at the Google images of baby hairs, and you can try to copy the flow. This is where you can change it just a little bit. And all the under layers will still help to like really make your last layer stand out. And yeah, this is the last layer. You can add more layers if you want. It's completely up to you. Oh, this is the kind of last layer, I should say. And you know, just we're going to work with it now. And I won't put you in hyperlapse yet. I'll show you sort of what I'm going to do. It's really good to bring the hairs into like a V formation. So we're going to do that a little bit and work from there. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the next mahogany brown. It's getting darker. If you don't want to work to go darker, you don't have to. You could use the last layer, which we did the medium brown again, and just try to do somewhat more solid strokes instead of really fine strokes. So when I was talking to you before about the V formation, what I mean is sort of going into each other. So basically just watch what I'm going to do here. So I go down like I'm going to a V, and then I cross over hairs and go in here. And each ones I sort of bring them in really nice and fine. So they're sort of going to connect. It's a little bit dark on that side, but that's all right. So you're overlapping hairs now. So if I go up here and I'm going to go down, I can see how I've overlapped those ones, and that gives the effect of the movement in the hair. You don't always have to do the V formation either. You can sort of do a little bit of hair up overlapping like I've done that, and even bring one or two in if you just want to. Overlapping is basically just going on top of each other. This is probably a better description than this. So yeah, don't be afraid to cross hairs and do some overlapping. Crossing hairs really makes a nice feature. But yeah, see how I go down and then I go into that middle hair and go down with it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do on this one and see how you go. I'm pretty much looking at what I'm doing will give you the idea. Once we get into the crown, we can do some, you know, around the crown we can do some long strokes, giving it that sunshine effect like I said, and we can fan out our brush as we go. After we do this, I'm going to bring it all together with sort of like a smoothing layer. But yeah, let's watch it, see how we go, and see how you like it. I'll do the hyperlapse again. so I think you can see pretty much where I've gone with all that. Like I said earlier, you know, don't be afraid of thinking it's too harsh, because it looks like that in the picture. My word, it looks like pencil everywhere and, you know, harsh lines. But in person, it doesn't look as harsh. But one way we can do some softening in some areas and make it look like it's got more hair is just get some of your paint, and let's say we just sort of go like this, and then with your finger just sort of rub it there. Now can you see how that sort of gives that a darkened area there? I can do it here. It doesn't have to be anything special paint, we're just sort of blending it in and making it look a little bit darker. You can do it around the whole head if you want. It's sort of, sometimes it fills in. So say how we've got maybe up here and we've got some like really good skin showing. That can just give it a darkening. You've got to pull the paint wherever it's going. So see how I've pulled the paint there? And that sort of softens. Don't get any paint on the face though. That sort of softens different areas. So I'm going to do that now, another hyperlapse, and then we might put Drew Ann's head back on. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? And see, you can see like a bit of a final result. So to give you an idea of how that sort of looks, you can add more to it. You can do the whole head if you want. You can just do little bits and pieces to make it look like some of the hair is thicker in certain areas. So now what you're best to do, you know, you can seal it. It is pretty much sealed as it is, but you can still seal it if you want, just with your, like this is air dry paint, so I'd use the ultra matte varnish. And then we'll put it on the baby. So you can, you know, tweak your work a little bit more. You don't have to just stop here. I'm going to do a little tiny tweak, but not much, and put the head on. Okay, so how did you go, guys? Just to let you know, that took me probably about 3 hours. I'd say around 3 hours to do this whole video. So that's how quickly it can be done. I haven't put Drew Ann's head on properly because I'm going to do another video after this of how to do a combi hair. Now, if you don't like the lines, you might think, oh, that's really harsh lines. I'm telling you, like I've said before, those lines, like you can see, like this line here, are quite prominent in the video. But looking at her head, it looks quite, especially from a slight different distance, it looks quite sort of like hair. Okay, but if you don't like that, if you're like, oh my god, no, I don't like the lines like that, all you have to do to achieve a little bit better is to soften the hair. Now I couldn't really do that for video purposes because I needed you guys to see how it looks. This is the book, by the way, the Magical Realism Hair Dry Paint, the tutorial. So that's the strand by strand. It tells you how to do it the whole way through, just sort of like how we did it there. It shows some little pictures and everything as you're going and tells you what to do. So if you get the paints, you can get the booklet as well. But like I said, you can soften it just by adding, so if you're doing the hair dry paints, just add a couple of drops of water. It will be a little bit more challenging because what you're doing is you're watering down the hair, so it's harder to see. And sometimes it feels like it's harder to dry, but pursue it and it will work. And also with the heat set paints, all you need to do is add some odorless solvent. Oh my god, little Drew Ann. She's looking really cool. Look at that. So yeah, nice little headband on or a hat will suit that. The combo hair is what they do is when they're doing the hair painting, and they just do like some tuft of hair up the top, which gives it an ultra realistic look, especially from a distance. All right, well, I hope that I'm trying to hold her the best I can without her falling apart because her head is on. Well, I hope that tutorial helped you somewhat. It's just using those paints. It's just doing it a little bit more gentler. And you know, make it your own, do a little tweaks to make something that you like doing it yourself. I'm not doing really good with my words today, so I'm very sorry. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, just pursue it. Keep going, and you know, just do some fine layers if you're a little bit afraid of getting it too full on, and even use, you know, your test limb, you know, make a hairy test limb and see how that turns out as well. Don't forget, guys, if you are on Spotify, look up Aussie Reborn Supplies. We have a podcast now and talks on different details and issues in the reborning world, gives you some advice on some painting things, and also on supplies that you can purchase from me or other reborn suppliers. And I think she looks pretty. And I'm quite happy with her. So I'm looking forward to doing the combo hair with you next. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. I will do some tags. If you would have seen along the video, you would have seen some tags come up along the way of the paints and what you need and things like that. So I hope this was very helpful to you all, and I will see you for our next tutorial. Thanks, guys. Happy reborning.